Welcome back to the Midday Show. My guest today was an MTV VJ from 1998 to 2001. He hosted such shows as Say What Karaoke, bits on TRL from here and there, and NSYNC's greatest MTV moments. He's currently a writer for Esquire. Please welcome Mr. Dave Holmes.
Hello.
How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great. I am doing just great. Yourself?
I'm doing great. It's MTV week here on the Midday Show. We had Damien Fahey on yesterday.
One of my dearest friends.
And now we're having you. So it's great to have you here on MTV Week. Happy we could work this out. So one of my favorite shows back in the day was Say What Karaoke. And I still reference it to this day. This is a bit childish, but I'm guessing you know the phrase okie dokie artichoke, that phrase?
Oh, sure.
I say okie dokie artichoke, say what karaoke.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Next level.
Yeah, and I still say it to this day, and it was a crazy show, because people would come on, college students would come on, and they would just sing songs, typically NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all that stuff, and they would willingly make fools out of themselves for MTV audiences. What was that like, facilitating all of that?
Oh boy, it was nuts. I mean, it was mostly people who were kind of goofing, but then there were a lot of people who were like, no, this is my big break, because there was no American Idol yet. There was no, singing competition shows were really not a thing. And, so some people really, kind of wanted to bring it and turn it into fame and fortune. I don't know that anybody has. We have a couple of people who were on the show who have become sort of hosty types. There's a woman named Candace Bailey who was on the show a bunch, and she's kind of a big deal in the hosting world now.
Of course.
It was a crazy show to do. We would do a whole season in like 4 days.
Wow.
We would do like 7 or 8 shows a day, and they would just build the set, and the set was exactly where TRL usually was. So if TRL was taking a week off, we would build the set and just bust out like 6 weeks worth of shows in 4 or 5 days, and it was like, I loved it. I totally loved it, but it was just such a blur of like glitter and bad vocals, and sometimes good vocals.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just like, it all happened so quick that it was just like I would be spat out the other side and not really remember much of what had happened.
And the coolest thing about it was, the guest judges you would have, and they were definitely, when you look back at them, they were definitely the MTV type of judges. Like, I remember one episode was Chris Kirkpatrick and Joey Fatone. You had Rich Cronin from LFO. A lot of those type of MTV favorites would be on the show. Was there a point to get those type of people on the show as guest judges?
Oh, sure. Yeah. The mandate was to get as many sort of MTV stars as we could. We also wanted to get, kind of cool New York stylist kind of types and choreographers, and make it really feel like a hip show. But yeah, I mean, if we could get a Joey Fatone, that was the coup.
That was huge. And of course you would do bits on TRL from here and there, like out in Times Square and sometimes in the studio. I still have the finale on VHS because that's how old I am. Or young I am. If in a weird way, it shows how young I am, because I was still using VHS in 2008. But what was that finale like? What was it like to be there?
Obviously it was a blast. But my favorite thing about it was, in TV, you don't often get a gig like MTV, where you're there every day, and there's a group of producers and a group of and a group of people in the control room and a bunch of cameramen that jobs like that are pretty few and far between. They're usually you just sort of tape once in a while, and you don't get to know each other that well. At MTV, it felt like kind of grad school to me. Like, everyone was the same age, everybody was, everybody was working their ass off. Everybody was, you were there around the clock. And like when I left, obviously, you miss MTV because there's a lot of perks and whatever, but I really missed the people most of all. And so when I got to go back, it was great to see all of the, it was whatever. Justin Timberlake was there, and that's, of course, a thrill. But, like, it was just great to be back in the saddle and to be back with all those people. And like, that's all we could say the whole night was, like, why aren't we doing this more, everyone just wanted to work together again. It felt like a college reunion. And, and then on top of it, it was like, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift was there.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about.
It's the craziest thing. Because I was speaking with Damien, who hosted in that time, and so many stars, even though there's a lot of stars today that didn't get on TRL, so many stars were able to, like your Taylor Swifts, your Nick Jonases, your Katy Perrys, your Lady Gagas, your Miley Cyruses, they were able to make it under the wire and get on that last year of TRL. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, like right when the chapter was sort of turning.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was a really, really fun night.
And currently, you're a writer for Esquire. What does that entail for you?
Just a lot of writing. It's a crazy position. I mean, they kind of let me do whatever I want. So I was brought on to sort of, kind of flesh out their pop culture sort of coverage, and that's and that's something that I have done, but I also am kind of opinionated in a lot of different ways. And so as things happen, they kind of just let me spit some stuff out and send it to them, and they put it up, which is nice. And I'm starting to do a little bit of writing for the magazine itself. I'm mostly on the website, but I've been doing some stuff for the magazine too. And it's just kind of all throughout MTV. I was, I didn't write a lot of the shows that I did, but here and there I had some input. And then when I left, I started writing more and more, and I kind of developed a voice. And I got hooked up with Vulture, which is New York Magazine's kind of pop culture website, and started sort of writing professionally for them. And then I've just sort of made connections from there, and I ended up somehow at Esquire.
Awesome. And what would you say has been the, I wouldn't say pinnacle, but maybe where you're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be right at this moment in my career?
I would say right now, honestly, because I kind of get to do everything that I love to do and that I feel like I am good at. I do a little bit of TV stuff now, but mostly, mostly writing pays my bills now. And I've sold a book that's coming out next year. It's kind of like a memoir type of deal. I'm pitching some TV shows. I'm doing, a little bit of, comedy on stage. Excuse me. I'm doing, I'm juggling a lot of different things right now, and they're all different parts of like who I am and what I do and what I love, and I'm able to sort of get by on that. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it sounds corny to say, but right now.
No, definitely. I can totally understand why. Because this radio show, for me, I started doing it last semester in January. I started doing it in January, and it really, in a way, changed my life just because I've been able to talk to people like you and play music that I am interested in, and just being able to have a voice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my goal is to be like a big-time TV host one day, and you were definitely one of my influences very young. Like, when I would go on the playground during recess, it wouldn't be me playing on the monkey bars or swinging on the swing with friends. It would be me in the corner of, like, the blacktop, pretending to be on TRL or Say What Karaoke, pretending to be Dave Holmes or Carson Daly or whoever. That was me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Me too.
So
that's exactly what I wanted to do when I was younger.
So
and you know what? You're doing exactly the right thing.
Exactly.
You're going about it exactly the right way.
And I'm so happy that I get to talk to influences like you, who I would pretend to be on the playground and then interview later in life. So we are going to take a break. We have about 60, 50 something seconds left. Let's get plugs out of the way. Where can people follow you on Twitter?
At Dave Holmes.
At Dave Holmes. And
Yes,
the
sir.
book comes out next year?
Yes, yeah, next May, if all goes according to plan.
I'm excited about that. Will it have like some MTV stuff in there?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's not like a, dishy kind of tell-all or anything. But, yeah, I mean, it's, was a big part of my life. So it's, it's in there for sure.
Awesome. I'll definitely look forward to that. And we'll be right back with more of Dave Holmes, and we're going to do a fun down right after the break here on the Midday Show on ECAV Radio. Welcome back to the Midday Show. We are here with Dave Holmes. It's time for your fun down. 7 questions, particularly tailored to my best of my ability for you. Here we go. Number 1.
Let's do it.
Esquire piece you are most proud of.
Esquire piece I am the most proud of. Well, I did this thing that did really well, shockingly. There was kind of like an open letter to Kid Rock, because he has this thing in interviews where he's constantly saying things are gay, oh, that's gay, or whatever. And it's like, it's 2015. Let's knock that off. And I just sort of, it was something that I think my best stuff I send in thinking that they won't publish it. Like I'll sort of get halfway in and it's like, this is too emotional, or this is I'm sharing too much or whatever, and they'll never publish this. But they published it, and I did share too much, and I was too emotional. But it kind of struck a chord, and it is. I think it's my most read thing for them, and it's something that I'm just proudest of, because I just kind of spoke from the heart and said, well, when you call people or things gay and you use that as a pejorative, like this is what happens to a young person who is gay. And it was just, I got a lot of stuff off my chest, and I got to sort of poke fun at him a little bit, and it was very satisfying. And I published it.
That's amazing. And not to bring up a sore subject here, but you are gay yourself, and that must have been a really nice release.
That's not a sore subject at all. I'm sorry, and what was the question?
It must have been a really nice release for you to do that.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, no, and it's it's not a sore subject. I'm not ashamed. It's just there are certain things that that go unsaid. Like you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to complain, or you don't want to be a pain in the ass or whatever. But it's like you got to say certain things, and that was one, and I'm glad I did.
Number 2,
Great.
favorite Say What karaoke judge. Your favorite judge that you had on.
Ooh, favorite judge. Let's see. I think, okay, the moment that pops into my mind is, why can't I remember her name? The wife on King of Queens.
Oh, Leah Remini.
Leah Remini. She was great. She was just very deadpan and funny. And you remember Laura Lifshitz?
Yeah.
My old co-host. It was a commercial break, and she came over, and she was just being Laura Lifshitz and being loud and crazy, and Leah Remini just looked at her and just totally deadpan and was like, "You're a crazy bitch." And that's a moment that just popped into my head, so I'm gonna go Leah Remini.
Okay, number 3. If you can recollect your favorite Say What karaoke contestant.
Favorite Say What karaoke contestant? Let's see. There were a lot of great ones. There was a guy named, a guy that I can't remember. His name was Eric Malizia.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember him?
Well, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. He probably put it there.
Yeah.
He was very driven. He was actually quite talented, and we had him back a lot because he was just one of those that we knew he was gonna make good TV. He was handsome. He had a good voice. And then there were, just like a million, crazy people who took their pants off or whatever. But yeah, the name that pops to my head is Eric Malaysia, so I'm going to go with him.
So, and speaking of something like that, your favorite Say What Karaoke moment in general, moment where you were just like, oh my gosh, this is happening on television and we're going to put it on.
Okay, this is dumb, but it's what I remember. There was a guy who sang All the Small Things, the Blink-182 song.
Yeah.
And he and I seem to remember that he didn't have pants on, but that could just be my imagination. And he, at the "Always I Know" line, there were all these light bulbs on the stage, and he positioned himself under a light bulb and pointed at the light bulb over his head at "I know," like I've had an idea. It was just this weird visual representation that that he had just come up with in the moment, and it was so dumb. And it was probably like the 7th episode we had taped that day, on the 5th day of taping. So I was a little delirious with fatigue, and I just remember that being like the cleverest thing I thought I had ever seen, and just thinking like, God, I have the weirdest job in the world.
That is amazing. Okay, favorite TRL moment. If you have a moment from TRL that you were just like, my God, this is it.
Oh boy, I mean, that's another one that's just like there are so many, and it's the weirdest thing about doing that show was how quickly it sort of became normal. Like it's just you would pop into the office and be like, oh, hi, Jennifer Lopez, and there's the cast of some,
WB sitcom or something.
Yeah, and it was just it can't help but just become normal after a while. And I know that's not an answer. My favorite moment though is probably okay. I was out in Times Square.
Yeah.
And Madonna was in the studio, and I was I was getting questions from fans on the street, and this one woman asked a question to Madonna, and she answered it, and then her boyfriend, who was out there with her, got on his knee and proposed to her because it was like he wanted to be part of the moment or whatever, and she said yes. And it cut back to the studio, and it was like, hey, Madonna, they got engaged, and she was like, great, just couldn't possibly have cared less. Okay, cool, whatever, good luck.
Oh
and
wow!
It was just like, oh, Madonna, even in this moment, you're Madonna.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those sitcoms things. Like that's Madonna.
Yep, totally. That's my Madonna.
Yeah. So, your favorite overall MTV moment from all your years at MTV, what was that moment that was just the first moment that comes to your mind that stood out?
Well, for me, it would have to be really like my first one, because I did the Wanna Be a VJ thing, and sorry for the beeping, but my car is in reverse right now. I had done the Wanna Be a VJ thing, and then I didn't get the job, but they brought me around, and I had been doing a little bit of writing for weekend specials, and then after a period of time they hired me to be on air, and during all that time I still had my day job. I was still working in advertising and like temping at night because my advertising job didn't pay enough to live in New York City, and I was so I had like real jobs that to like pay my bills, and on the last day before my first on air job, I was in my office, and I was getting everything together for the person who was going to take over my job. And I was sort of, getting all of my files together and getting all my ducks in a row and whatever until like super, super late at night on a Sunday. And then I went home and I went to sleep, and I woke up and a car came to pick me up to take me to the beach house, which was in Seaside Heights. And I was going to shoot my first on air show that day. And I went out, and Funkmaster Flex was spinning, and there were all these, extras in bikinis, dancing on a deck, and an intern ran to get me coffee, and it was just, like, you know, and I had to go into makeup, and it was just like it was literally an overnight change in my entire life. And you know, and Carson was there, and Ananda was there, and I'm sure there was some band, but I don't remember who. And it was like my new life started really suddenly. And I remember it was just like, it felt like Christmas morning when I was a kid, you know? And then, you know, and the job itself was of course great, but like that first moment of just like, whoop, this is it. I have a brand new life and it starts today was pretty tough to top.
That's awesome. And just a general question, your last one, favorite way to have fun. Just in general, what's the go-to way to have fun for you?
Ooh, go-to way to have fun for me. Let's see. It involves it involves some kind of physical activity during the day. I've become a big outdoorsy health goofball out in California. So like a long hike with friends or a long bike ride in Malibu or something heavy for a few hours, and then home to grill meats and drink wine and listen to music and hang around the fire in the pool in the backyard.
That sounds great, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This has been an honor for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And this concludes our MTV week here on the Midday Show. But
bring it back.
We'll bring it back. Hopefully, hopefully Carson will come on. No, so it's very exciting. My thanks to Dave Holmes. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Holmes. The book comes out hopefully next year, and we will see you next time here on the Midday Show. Stay tuned for Carson Daly. We will be not right back, but we'll see you next time, probably next week here on the Midday Show.